Hello, everyone. It's Andrea, and welcome to this edition of Talks in the Car. Anyone who knows me well knows that I am a lover of court TV, whether it's true stories that are taking place or it's fictional. I love to watch the debates that happen between the defense and the prosecution. I love to see how they lay out the information in order to prove their point. I am a great lover of the old black and white Perry Mason. When my son was born that night, he and I, the first TV show that my son and I, he was like literally hours old. The first show that we watched together was Matlock, because I love that dynamic, just watching how each side lays out the information. So in thinking about the defense and thinking about the prosecution and all that goes into making presentation, that brings me to what I want to talk to you about today. If you have ever been or have had jury duty, the defense and the prosecution, they lay out all the information. They bring witnesses. They have DNA. They may pull out someone's past. They pull out every amount or every type of situation that they possibly can. They pull out older court cases that have nothing to do with this, with the present case. But they pull out everything that they have in order to prove their point, in order to express the point that they are right over the opposite side. And once they've done that, once all the information is shared, once all the evidence is there, once you've heard all the witnesses, once you've seen the DNA, once you've read all the documentation, once the judge has given the explanations of everything, both sides rest. And when they rest, what that is basically saying is that we've done all we can. We've said what we've said. We've shown what we've shown. We've proven what we could. We've done all of that. We have given you the tools in order for you to make an informed decision as to whether or not this person is guilty or innocent. Oftentimes in life, and particularly when it comes to relationships, we put ourselves in positions of having to prove ourselves. We give the information, we share ourselves, we share our past, we share our current situation, we are transparent, we tell people and we let people know why we are a good candidate, why we are best for maybe the role of wife, for the role of husband, the role of significant other. We do all of that. We put our best foot forward. We show them we can cook. We show them we can be a good spouse. We show them that we're loving and that we're understanding and that we're all in. We do all of that. And after we've done that, then it becomes the responsibility of that other person to review those facts. They look over what's been presented. They look over the documentation. They look over our evidence. They look over all of those things, and then they come back with a verdict. They come back with, are we worthy? Do we meet the requirement or not? And at some point, and oftentimes, we have to simply rest. We've given all we can, we've shared all we can, we've done all we can, and we have to leave it in the hands of that other person. However, when that person comes back with a verdict that is the opposite of what we were looking for, it can be hurtful. It can be trying, it can be discouraging, because we've laid out the evidence. We've given the presentation. We've had the witnesses, we've had the documentation, we've proven why we are best for this. But someone has chosen to either A, not accept the evidence, they've chosen to ignore the evidence, or they don't believe that the evidence fits what they are looking for. So I want to encourage you on today that if the evidence comes back not what you want, if the verdict is not what you want, that just rest. It's hard to accept. It's maybe trying on your heart, trying on your emotions. But let's stop trying to keep proving over and over and over again how worthy we are, how wonderful we are, how much we would fit into this particular role. And even beyond relationships, it could be the same thing. We are trying to go for a particular job, a particular position, and they choose somebody else. We've given our evidence. We've shown why we are best for the job, but somebody else is chosen. It can be hard to accept, but we have to rest and we have to let it go. And we have to understand that it may have absolutely zero to do with us and more to do with what somebody else is looking for. Sometimes the evidence could be the best possible evidence that you can give, but it just doesn't fit with what the prosecution or with what the defense is looking for. And we have to be okay with that. I used to be in a place where I was forever trying to prove myself, forever trying to show why I am best for this position, why I am the best person for the role as girlfriend or the role as fiance, the role as wife, what I bring to the table, what I can do, why I am that perfect woman for this particular individual. And I would go through so much hurt when I was rejected, when my evidence didn't stack up, when my evidence didn't yield the verdict that I want. And even now, it can still be difficult. But what I am learning and what is becoming more and more clear to me is that just because my evidence wasn't received, just because the verdict didn't come back in my favor, that says nothing about who Andrea is. That says nothing about what I bring to the table. That says nothing about what I have to offer. That says nothing about what I can give and what I'm willing to give. All that says is that I am not the right fit for that particular individual. I'm not the right fit for that particular job. That there is something better for me. And oftentimes we take rejection, we take a guilty, for lack of a better word, we take a guilty verdict that comes back, or something opposite of what we wanted to. We take that as being negative against us, when in reality, God doesn't want us to accept things that are just status quo. He wants us to embrace and to realize that He has something better for us. A verdict against us is not a verdict against what God has for us. In fact, a verdict that's against us is really a verdict for what God has for us. So I encourage you that as you're thinking about all the times that you are trying to present yourself, all the time that you are trying to give evidence, all the time that you are trying to prove yourself to individuals, prove yourself to the job, prove yourself to a position, prove yourself to family, prove yourself over and over and over again, and you're feeling like the verdict coming back is against you, be encouraged. It's not you. It very well might be God's way of either shielding you from what you think you may want, or preserving you for what He wants you to have. It's not about you, it's about God. It's not about you, but it's about what God wants for you. It's not about you, it's about what God is protecting you from. A verdict that comes back the opposite, in God's way of thinking and in God's divine thought, is a positive, and it's in our favor. A negative to us can be a positive to God. And so we have to kind of get into a different mindset, that the things that we often think as negative, the things that come back to us that for us compute as negative, could be a positive for God. If this person doesn't accept you, if this person doesn't see all of that wealth of documentation and that presentation that you have, if they don't see that, if they don't accept that, if they don't embrace that, yes, it will hurt. Yes, you may experience discouragement. You may experience rejection. But at the end of the day, it is a positive, because God has something better for you. God has something better for me. And again, I'm preaching to the choir because it's hard to accept. It's hard to digest. But at the end of the day, the verdicts that come back, God sees the end result from where we are. We don't see it all. God sees it all. And so we have to learn to accept God's verdict. We have to accept the things that we may not want to, knowing that at the end of the day, God wants his best for us. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time on Talks in the Car.